everyone, and welcome to Buzzing About Romance. I am Becky.
And I am Leah.
And we didn't scare her off last week, so back this week joining us is podcast contributor Heather. Hi, Heather.
Hello, ladies.
I think it's going to take a lot to actually scare her off.
I don't scare easily, you guys.
So
she's stuck with us.
This episode is a reminder that we all are kind of whorish.
At least in our minds.
Accurate.
We are ladies who read our porn.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. I am a fucking lady too.
I was going through my list and I'm like, I've got like 120 some books here that are very specific.
Yeah. I'm mad at my past self for not doing a really great job of
past self
Goodreads shelf. Or even I decided to be an idiot and not count my novellas towards my books the last couple of years.
Oh, they
so
count.
I'm trying to go, I know, but now I'm going back through and I'm like, I don't remember what those are. So that's dumb. I'm not doing that this year.
Count all the books, even if it's 22 pages. But do you know what books I did not keep on this list? Were the really naughty.
Oh, like her
cow.
Her cows.
naughty books.
I can't even say it. Like, that's how naughty they are.
Hugh cow or whatever. Okay.
The Hugh cows, yes.
So
those are specific.
Those are very specific.
That is a kink, though. We can talk about it then.
It is. So on this episode of Buzzing About Romance, we are bringing you book recs with all the heat to help warm you through these cold winter days. We are going to
say that. It's so weird.
We are going to talk all about the sexiest and spiciest books we've read. And Heather is here to help us give all the book recs. Yep. So we will be recommending books in the following categories.
We have porn without plot, or PWP, as one would say. Different kinks, dirty novellas, books with sex clubs in them, books that live the BDSM lifestyle, and we're gonna sprinkle some virgin auctions in there too.
Because as I was going through my dirty list, I came across some virgin auction books.
I've read a lot of virgin auctions, but I could not find them in my list.
Same.
Yeah,
actually, I just read one
because again, past Leah was a dumbass.
Same. But my favorite virgin auction one is in my list. So we'll talk about that. Okay. So we are talking high heat books. These are books that plot might be a little lighter. It's more about the spiciness and the connection and the sexiness. So what do we like about these books?
I think sometimes, like, thinking about like novellas, right? Like sometimes in our group chat, we'll like talk about them as like palate cleansers.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you come off of a really high angsty book, or like even a super well written book that isn't super spicy, but you still love it.
If I'm in a book hangover of any kind, I need a short, dirty book to reset my system. And it doesn't have to have a plot. I don't care. If you've listened to the podcast, everybody knows that plot, that's a moot point for me. But like if I have read a book that I need reset from because it has drawn me in that much, like these types of books are what I need.
So one of the things that I've always loved about romance novels is that they helped me claim my sexuality. They made me feel okay about different things, desires that I have when it comes to sex, but also like things like masturbation. And the reason I like these books is it invigorates your imagination. And I'm in a long-term relationship. I have been with Mike almost 25 years. And sometimes you have to infuse some spice. And these stories help infuse that spice.
Which is a reason why on TikTok, women are having their husbands read these spicy books, and the husbands are like, let's why are we reading this? Right. Like,
Right.
like I think that people will laugh about it, but in reality, when you are married and you have kids and you are working on dinners and making sure everyone has their laundry done and their homework
And
done.
you're just really fucking tired and you want to go to bed.
Like, let's be real, that's not super sexy, but
No.
that's what life is.
But it also reminds us, too, that we are women and it's okay to have desires and it's okay to have a sexual side to our personalities, that we're not just moms, caretakers, teachers,
and that's the big thing.
Editors.
It kind of reminds you, like, you're not just this person. Like, you are a woman first and everything else is just a part of your life. And you have to remember, like, take control of yourself.
Well, and, depending on the background you came from, I came from obviously a little bit more open background with, my parents. We talked about sex and, not to like kinky extremes or anything, but it was a very open conversation that we had growing up. But there are some people that never have these conversations, don't know how to these conversations. And sometimes books like this can help you see that, like, what you desire, what you want is normal. There are other people in the world, even though it's fiction, there are other people in the world that have these feelings.
But a lot of these books, like, yes, they are fiction, but there are realistic elements that go in it. Like, there are people that, like, they write about their own lives. Like, there are people who take stories that they've heard and put them into a book. So yes, like, it is inherently fiction, but at the same time, like, these are true things that could be happening at the same time.
So if I'm recommending you a high heat book like PWP, what do you want to see in these books?
No plot. We're just
it can be plot light. Like, I don't mind plot
light. Yeah, I mean, yes, plot light.
I want the chemistry to be so tangible that
I don't miss the plot.
Rubbing thighs or, blushing. I want to read these books and, like, look around and be like, I'm reading a book where dude has tied girl up and is rubbing rope between her legs. Like, I want that.
I like a book where when I'm sitting in my living room surrounded by my family, I'm like, I probably shouldn't be reading this right now.
Right?
Or I'm like, so being in hockey, we drive all over the state. So it's dark because I live in Minnesota and it's dark all the time. So I am driving and I'm like with my Kindle and I'm like, oh my gosh, is it reflecting? Can my kids read what is on here? Because I don't want them to. That's where I'm at. Like, that's sort of the thing. Like, I don't want anyone else to see that I'm reading this.
Well,
I wouldn't mind sitting out in the,
and my youngest
shop and read it.
My youngest is a very prolific reader for a 9-year-old, and she likes to read over my shoulder sometimes. And sometimes we have to remind her that, although not so much anymore, but we did have to tell her, like, you cannot read over your mom's shoulder.
Yeah.
Like, it's not okay.
I'll never forget the first time I was listening to, and I don't really read this author or recommend them anymore, but there was a scene where the girl was having a butt plug inserted on the gentleman's lap. And I was listening to the audiobook because Sebastian York reads it. And we all know how I feel about Mr. York. And I came from running errands, drop-offs, and it had been connected to my car and Bluetooth, came into the house and it connected to the Bluetooth to my Echo in my kitchen. And it started broadcasting as my 2 children were sitting at the kitchen table doing their schoolwork. And then you have to scream, stop.
You have to be louder than Alexa. My son, that happened. He was, I was waiting out in the car because that's what my life is in my car. And I was listening to an audiobook and he opens the back and he goes, Mom, everyone can hear this. And I'm like, oh, whoops.
Sorry.
He's like, you're so embarrassing. And I'm like,
or the McDonald's person as you pull up to the.
I went to pick up groceries the one day and I was listening to my book as one because I just do they load my car for me because it's just easier. And it happened to be in a scene where like they were getting down and I didn't, like, they knocked on my window and like I could totally tell that they could hear what was going on in my car.
But I want those feelings. And I want to be like, yeah, I'm listening to dirty books and this is okay. It's okay.
It is okay,
Yeah.
but when it's a teen
No.
Walmart
definitely not.
employee.
Do you have anything you don't like in these books? Is there sometimes where a book can go too far?
Yeah, and I don't want to, like, I'm not about kink shaming. I don't bodily fluids, like urine and all that. I'm out.
Yeah.
Another thing that is distracting for me, and it's super picky, and I know, errors. Like, I think sometimes, especially in the novellas, sometimes there's errors. Like, they start calling a character one name, and then like a couple chapters later, it's another name. And I'm not an editor, and so if I pick up on them, I wonder what I'm not picking up on. Does that make sense? I feel like that's pretty nitpicky. But
No, because honestly, like
I
I will find more errors in a novella than well, not always, but they are more susceptible to errors than.
I just think that I don't think it's picky at all. I think that, you're putting a quality product, if you're putting a product out for sale, for consumption, there needs to be a level of care and,
we have an expectation as a reader that like you're reading a book that doesn't have mistakes in it.
Yeah. So, because I read a book once where I thought it started in Atlanta and the next thing I know, they're in Seattle, but nobody moved. The author just kind of.
There was a wormhole.
A wormhole. I think they forgot where they were at. So
that could be a whole other type of book right there.
Now, one of the things that will come up in some of these high heat books are like content and trigger warnings. I personally do not have any trigger warnings. I personally do not have any content warnings. There are things that if it comes up in a book and it's not done well, that will annoy me and get me to stop reading a book. Like, I'm very sensitive to children with medical needs just because of my own life. That being said, a lot of these books will come with content and trigger warnings, and I'm okay with that because there are people out there in the world that cannot handle certain things, being tied up or,
Oh, and I will say that with the short, dirty novellas, consent is a little bit more iffy on the regular.
Let's talk about consent, because that's something that comes up in these higher heat books that people either love or hate. And that is, we will call it dubcon or non-con. And what we're talking about is dubious consent or a non-consensual relationship. Yeah. So particularly if you read a lot of mafia romances, that is dubious consent. Those are dubcon. Yeah. They've been kidnapped. It's a little bit of Stockholm syndrome. You don't know if they ever actually really consented to being in that relationship.
Or it's like an arranged marriage and the girl's just like basically forced to marry them because of,
So some of these books are going to be ones that we're going to recommend here. These are things that consent might be ambiguous.
Questionable.
And also content and trigger warnings are going to be important. So if you are thinking of reading one of the books that we recommend tonight, as we said last time, slide into our DMs, ask us if there's any content or trigger warnings into these books that we should be aware of. Any one of the three of us would be happy to suggest things because we know that there are quite a few of our listeners that consent is very important to them.
Yeah.
They
are not freaks like us.
And I mean, to be like, I feel like not to be, I don't want to say we're old, but we are
kind of old.
We're 40-ish.
Leah's not there yet. She's close, but she's not there yet.
We're almost.
Almost over the hill.
Right. Almost. I mean, and like you said, Becky, we've been married for 20, I think.
Well, and that's a conversation
our experiences are different.
I think
and like the way we were raised and like the world, like when we were younger is a very different, like it's a whole other animal.
As a Gen Xer, consent is a different conversation than what millennials, even old millennials like Leah, consent was very different even for them in, situations than it was. Because I will rewatch movies from like the 80s or the 90s and I'll be like, There is no consent in that movie.
There's a lot of movies that there was no consent in.
And so I
A
think
lot.
that consent is something that's a newer conversation. And I'm not saying it's not a conversation we should be having. It is absolutely a conversation that should be had, and it's a conversation I have with my children. But I think that because of how we were raised, it's just different for us.
I would agree.
Maybe that's why we're not quite as worried about consent. Also, hell has a lot more plot than heaven. We've proven it.
Right.
But if you haven't read those books, you should, because they're
on this list.
They are on the list, and they are definitely dubious consent.
So much dubious. Okay, so we are going to recommend books 2 to 3 per category. So the title or series, so we're going to just give you the title or the series, the author's name, and maybe main trope outside the category, or maybe like what if it's the kink section, we might tell you what the kink is. And if I get things wrong, just know that I realized that I had a whore phase. From
whore phase like every 2 weeks. So.
Like from 2017, 2016 to 2019, I pretty much only read these kinds of high heat books.
Yeah. Mine didn't get picked up on Goodreads, so.
Yeah. Also, we will not use the word smut. I'm going to just tell you people, if you're listening to this,
not at all.
We are never going to use that word. That is not a word that this podcast use. We don't like it. We think it's yucky. It makes it sound like pornography. These are actually written. We joke about porn without plot, but really these are well-written, well-established stories with characters.
Yep.
They're just high on the heat.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like we might call it that, but like it is not something that like we are sad about. Like we are okay with that. And honestly, it's more of a way for us in our community for people to know like the type of book that it is.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you're like, why aren't you guys calling it smut? Because I will not. Because that is degrading the work and
that
the
is a
art
dirty
these
word.
Authors create.
That's a
smut is
word.
pornography. We are not reading pornography.
No.
Well, Hugh Cow might be, but we don't.
That's a whole other kink. No, we do talk about that because that is a very specific kink.
It is a very
specific
specific
talk about
kink.
it in the kinks.
Okay, so let's start with Porn Without Plot, PWP. Who are some authors or titles that you enjoy that are PWP?
Okay, so Cassie Mint, she toes the line with PWP. There are some books that have a little bit more plot than others, but actually her newest series, The Very Merry Mob, it's a 4-book series. They were plot light. There was a kidnapping in one of them. It was good.
Heather's currently shopping on Amazon, putting books on her Kindle.
I'm like, screenshot that.
But they're also short. They're short novellas as well.
Heather, you got any porn without plots?
I don't really have any.
I'm sure you probably have.
I know I do. I just don't know.
Look at Becky's.
I would say, so I read The Dirty Little Secret Duet by J.D. Hollyfield. It was an age gap. Daddy Kink, Best Friend's Dad romance. It was mostly just porn without plot.
What about that Jillian Neal book that you just read, that cowboy one?
Well, that one had an actual story. The first one in the Camden Ranch, that had a real story, but there was just so much sex in it. I had to like kind of skip some of the sex so I could get back to the story.
Like that's never happened to me in my whole life. So
it did never happen to Becky either. That's why I brought it
ever
up.
happens. It was just such a great story, and then like they kept getting the sex on.
Oh, they're fucking again.
Thing. Like the books that I thought of, I'm like, well, no, there's a plot, like, because I could remember the plot. So that's why
that is the testament to a good book. When there's a well thought out plot and still a lot of sex.
I think that Marnie Mann's Billionaire series, it starts with the lawyer,
the lawyer, the billionaire, the single dad,
and now it's the intern.
The
They're
Dalton
very
family.
plot.
Yeah, the Dalton
family.
family.
They're very plot light.
Yeah, they're in Kindle Unlimited. There's
Well, and
not
she has an endorsed series that some of the characters overlap. It is also very plot light.
It was more about like how often we can do it
And where.
and where we can do it.
Yeah.
And also like a lot of these people, I don't care how rich you are, I'm never going to eat food from your kitchen. Because you do all the things on the counter.
But they don't. But there's no talking about cleaning the counters.
Yeah, nobody ever says, and they got the Clorox wipes out. Never mind, I can't talk about
It's just kind of assumed that they're going to Clorox.
That is why you say no to potlucks.
Right.
Can't eat in somebody's kitchen.
Not carrying in anything. We still talk about that Heaven and Hell multi-author series.
We do.
That J.L. Beck and C. Hallman kick off with Heaven and then Hell. That book, again, that series, Sexy. The book Wrong is a breeding kink that's part of that series.
Oh, that was a really good one by Adelaide Forrest.
Yeah.
Wrong was very good.
Yeah. I mean, there's the Hitman one, which we'll talk about. I have it in my kink listing because it's somnophilia, which
I have Darcy Rose,
yeah,
but she's farther down on the list. So
okay. So let's get into kink because I think of all my lists. I have a lot in the sex clubs.
I discovered recently that I really have a thing for a breeding kink.
You're just now realizing this? Like 2 novella recommendations from you and people are shoving cum up inside others.
No.
I'm like,
okay, so it's been a couple months.
Or I want to paint her walls.
Well, there's a lot of that. Or they just refuse to wear a condom. Like there will never be a condom ever between them. Yeah, I have a thing for a breeding kink. So Alexa Riley, that author duo, almost every book, I'd say like 97% of their books have a breeding kink built in. There's often a stalkerish hero in the series, in the books.
I mean, how many times can you read a book, Leah, when they're like, and I want to see my cum dripping down your leg?
Well, I mean, I could read one every day.
I think
where they talk about that.
We could probably find you a whole list.
I mean, I have a whole list. Like Fiona Davenport, that author duo.
Oh yeah.
They're big on the breeding kink. Like every single hero is like, I can't wait to see her round, like with my baby. Like,
yeah,
all of them. I don't know why I like them so much, but I just do.
Becky got me hooked on the Boardroom series by Linda Eicher. Is it Eicher or Archer?
Eicher. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm listening to the audio, and I'm listening to After Hours, and Aiden Snow narrates.
Nice.
And so does Lydia Dornett.
Yeah, Dornett.
And she does phenomenal job, you guys. I highly recommend this. It's in Hoopla and Libby, my Libby.
Yeah, so. It's also it's on Anyplay also.
Yep, very good series.
So those are voyeur kinks and group sex kinks, and it is they're hot. The whole premise of that series is it's a series of high-end businessmen that offer up their boardroom, and there's an app, and you sign up to come to the boardroom. Sometimes you have a partner, sometimes it's
emphasis
an anonymous
on
partner, and they come to the boardroom and they have sex or they watch other people have sex. Freaking hot. Here is the kicker on that. It's trad pub, you guys.
And these are from like 2018. Yeah. I mean, this is the audio 2018.
Yeah, I think the books are 2016. It's it's after the kind of the 50 Shades of Grey wave. It's the same as so if you like books like Praise by Sarah Kate and you like that praise kink, the daddy kink, a lot of the books in the Midnight Dynasty that is from Dangerous Press, and that's multi-author. There's Amelia Wilde, Skye Warren, Monica Murphy has one over there. A lot degradation kinks are over in that Midnight Dynasty also.
Yeah, and that one I know a lot of people have an issue with because it can be kind of rough, but Kay Webster, her Cinderella trilogy is degradation kink, and Winston is delightful.
Yeah,
But
there's
just that one you have to kind of be prepared because it's a little bit rough.
If you like if you like voyeurism, the Dirty Bastard series by Christina Lauren, again, it's old school trad pub. It has a lot of voyeurism in it. And let's see here. Who else do I got?
Vanessa Vale has her Bridgewater series.
Mhm.
Like the original Bridgewater is pretty kinky, and there's a little bit of a breeding kink there.
Well, Well, and
Hello,
Fiona
Minaj.
Cole has a voyeur series as well. Like there's a whole voyeur club and all of that. But if you like it,
Jacinda Wilder, they have the Alpha series and the Dirty Beast series that are a variety of kinks in them.
If you like a daddy kink, you could read Golden Angel. She writes a bunch of daddy books. Pepper North has like a whole daddy series. Rory Reynolds, hers are the little girl daddy doms. It's not just the daddy kink, it's the little girl daddy, like both aspects of it. The little and daddy. Yeah. Those are delightful. They're novellas. They're in a sex club also. Her one series, like her newest series that she has, it's like a daddy. It's a sex club, but there's like a littles room and all of that stuff because it takes the littles like to the extreme.
Brianna Hale has Control Freak, and that's a daddy kink. And Little Dove by Layla Frost, which we have a quick shot of romance in the archives.
Well, that's a good one. That's a kidnapping, daddy, age
so
gap.
many things. So one of the kinks that if you're looking for a variety of kinks, the Rough Rider series by Lorelei James it's cowboys, there's menages, there's lots of kinkness. If somnophilia, which is the Sleeping Beauty kink, is a thing for you, we have The Hitman by C. Hallman and Isabella Starling, and then Even If It Hurts by Sam Marino. But let's talk about rope and tying up kink, which is shibari, which is the Japanese art of tying of knots and rope tying.
I just finished the Lorelei James Bound and Unwound duet because Becky and I are going to do a quick shot on it. Maybe we've talked about it.
Should you read it? I think we're doing a Buzzing After Dark. Buzzing After Dark.
I mean, it's more of a Buzzing After Dark like subject matter, but so the hero is a shibari master, and it's not just shibari. There's like 4 or 5 like other types of rope things that he does also, but it is dirty and delightful. There's a lot of sex. It's intense. The one thing with these types of kinks though, like the rope stuff, like there's a lot of trust that goes into them too.
Well, there's a natural intimacy because you're trusting them to tie you up and to giving over that control. So it creates an intimacy that makes it's just, I think that's the difference between porn without plot and just a really kinky book.
Yeah.
Is that it's the connection, it's the trust, it's the intimacy between the two main characters.
But Nikki Sloan has the Blindfold Club
That's
series.
For sex clubs. That's the next section.
They're like the one book, I think it's book 3 or book 4. I can't remember which one, but he is a shibari master and she had a bad experience with the rope tying. So if you're looking for just that specific kink, that is a really good book.
Also, I Googled without incognito mode kinks so that I could Google books that have those kinks in it.
Nice.
You're just living the high life without
living on the edge
without your incognito mode.
I am. Okay, let's give some dirty novella authors. Just because you have a list, Leah. And we do talk about these in our novella episode.
Yeah. So Cassie Hart. She has a whole group of novellas. There are different kinks and short and dirty.
That's the one I asked you about earlier.
The stalked one.
Yeah, yes. I read all 4 stalked.
Same.
Yeah. Jordan Marie and Janika Snow have a Hot Bites novella series that they co-wrote together. They're dirty. There's breeding, there's a lot of kinks worked into those. Janika Snow also has her Real Man series. Those are all novellas, and it's a lot of different books, a lot of different kinks. Aria Cole, she she does mostly novellas. There's every once in a while like a full novel mixed in, but hers are does some by herself and then she co-writes with Mila Crawford. So if you like, they have daddy kinks, they have breeding kinks, they have age gaps. Nicole Rose, who I think I mentioned on the novella podcast, but she often does age gaps and daddies as well. And those are often breeding kinks too. We see a trend here. Jessica Kane
can write a great novella.
Well, and she has one called As If I Wouldn't Fall. He stalks her hard. And then like his goal in life is to knock her up.
So I have Chloe Summers, Chloe Main. Mimi Kinley writes some spicy, dirty little novellas.
Oh, she does.
So those are all some novella authors. And again, we'll list these on the shelf show notes. But we did a whole novella episode too.
I have Cassie Cole. She's like a big reverse harem, and she writes like real good ones. Same with Krista Wolf. Real good. I like them. And they're in KU.
Okay. So books with a sex club, because Becky had a horror stage.
Yeah. Where do you want me to start?
Just start telling us. We just need titles or authors, like the series title, the book title, and the author. Because here's the deal, guys. If we're recommending these books and you have any questions about them and you want to know other tropes or other stuff, slide into our DMs. We'd rather be able to give you 10 sex clubs books than just 4.
Well, and honestly, like these are books where like they're all series. So like we give you the club, we give you the series, and any of the books that you read are really good.
Yeah. So my favorite, well, I've got 2. So Wicked Horse, the Montana series, and that's by Sawyer Bennett. Bridger. That's all I'm going to say. Bridger. So good. Love the Wicked Horse. Actually, both of them, the audio is very top notch. And then kind of one that I never hear people talk about is called the Trident series by Samantha A. Cole.
Those ones are actually master slave ones too.
Some of them. Yeah. So they own like a secure, so there's romantic suspense, but then there's also the sex club. It's very, very good. I love it because it's not just men that are the doms, but there's females, men are submissive. Another really great one that Carolina and I got into last year, I think, is the BDSM checklist series by Elle Dubois. It goes like A through Z. It's real steamy and short and good.
Well, and Lila has her Orchid Club series also. That like the checklist ones are all short novellas, but the Orchid Club are full novels. But Lexi Blake has her Masters and Mercenaries series. She has the original Masters and Mercenaries, the Master and Mercenaries Reloaded, the Forgotten. Like she has all sorts of sex clubby things. And though like those ones, like they have the club, but they live the lifestyle outside of the club. A lot of them too, which is you don't always see that. Like some of the clubs, like they do the club thing, and then it's not like that outside of the club. They only play in the club.
Golden Angel has a series too that's like that. It's oh my gosh, I wrote it.
The Daddy Doms.
Masters are marked. So she's got a couple, but she does a great job with those.
So MS Force has a series called the Quantum series that is Hollywood production company with a sex club down in their basement of their office building. It's sexy. It is sexy. Stacey Kennedy has both the Watch Me series and the Club Sin series. Club Sin series is one that some of them do live the BDSM lifestyle outside of the club.
Yeah, and Katie Robichaud, she has her Club Alias series. They are like a mix. Like some are like full on outside of the club and some are not.
Helen Hart writes the Steele Brothers. Again, some of them are clubs, some of them are lifestyle. And her books can be either 3, it can be a trilogy. I just read one that was a standalone from her that comes out later this month. So
Nicole Edwards has the Club Destiny series, and she also has like the Walker Cowboy series that kind of like is like an offshoot of it. So good, you guys. Oh,
those
good.
are ones to make you blush, though.
They are, and if I highly recommend the audio if you can get your hands on them.
Yeah,
they are good.
The Voyeur series by Fiona Cole. We talked about that already. Paradise Club by J.A. Lowe. Those are in Kindle Unlimited. It's a sex club. The Club by Lauren Rowe. Again, sex club. You talked about female doms. Joey W. Hill. She writes a whole series of female doms.
Ooh.
That is
I'm intrigued.
super sexy.
Me too.
Okay, so
go ahead. In the Lorelei James one, the sister of the hero, she's a dom. Like, and she like whips her submissives.
Yeah.
It's delightful.
She's a beast too. Like,
she is.
She's a
I
beast.
love her so much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Keep on.
BDS. Did you have any other clubs to add in, Leah?
No.
Okay. BDSM Lifestyle. Sierra Cartwright. If you have not read her, they're in Libby. They're in Hoopla. These are like all about the coloring and like pushing your boundaries and your limits. And oh gosh, I'm going to have a hot flash reading this book kind of sexiness. And I was on TikTok earlier last week, and Sierra Cartwright, Golden Angel, and Shayla Black are doing a special project to come together coming out this fall. And we have an upcoming happy hour with Golden Angel, and I'm hoping she will spill all the tea, or I can convince those 3 to come on and talk to us.
Yes, please. Yes.
That sounds delightful.
Right?
You have 2 series on this list that are, I read these, no joke, I brought them to Vegas, and this was before the e-readers, and the Vegas sun like melted the binding, and it was so fitting for this series.
Which series?
The Crossfire series by Sylvie Day.
Oh. So the Crossfire series came out shortly after 50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades. Mm-hmm.
And it is, I mean, you're in. It's like 4 books. It's a saga, but it is bonkers, sexy craziness.
And same with the Submissive series. I read that after 50 Shades.
Oh, by Tara Sumi.
Yes.
Yeah. And that one is a school that trains doms and submissives.
Yep.
And like, those were in my library, Heather. Those were the ones I'm reading like while my kid is sick and in the hospital.
Do you know that they sold them at Target?
No.
Because they did. I'm not joking. Because we went to Vegas. I mean, this was like 10 years ago. We went to Vegas with friends. I bought the Submissive. I must have had to order the Submissive series, but she brought the Crossfire series, and we are trading books back and forth. And I mean, we had young kids at the time. My kids were like 3.
They're stupid sexy.
They are. And same with Maya Banks. Maya Banks can write a...
So the Maya Banks Sweet series, if you guys have never read that series, have you read that series, Leah?
I read book 1.
So they are truly deep into the BDSM lifestyle.
Yep.
Like there's a lot of nuances, there's a lot of control and coloring and crawling to your dom.
Yeah.
If you are not into that, those might not be for you.
And Ivy Lane, she has one in her Billionaire series. It's called the Billionaire's Pet. Like,
Mhm.
and it is intense. Like they live the BDSM lifestyle. Like he calls her pet. Like, and it's really good.
So there's some of those from that BDSM checklist too that are like this. I feel
Mhm.
like these BDSM lifestyle books, the content and trigger warnings are going to be real key if you need those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ask us, talk to us. If you have content, trigger warnings, consent kind of things, talk to us because we'll
Mhm.
help you through that. Sparrow Beckett does a slave, master
Master.
slave series, lifestyles. It's 4 books. The audios are in Hoopla. And yeah, they're pretty high heat there. Um, any others, Leah?
If you can make the three of us blush,
Yeah,
You
that's
write good
true.
stuff. Is there anyone else in that list? The Stark International trilogy by Jay Kenner is
Mhm.
also BDSM lifestyle. And I have not read this, but the Man series by Jodi Ellen Malpass
hmm yes.
is also kind of that 50 Shades of Grayish.
Fifth friends, Shane East narrates. Do I need to say more? He said during a thing, he was like, I was in my booth, like recording. He did like a live or something, and he was like, I was like recording and I was turning like bright red. So, yeah.
Okay.
And Jodi Ellen Malpass is so kind, you guys. She's so sweet.
Apparently she's got a kinky side though.
Yup.
Leah,
So,
any other sex club BDSM ones before we go to virgin auctions?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, virgin auctions.
Okay, so I could not find a lot of my Virgin auction
mm-mm,
books.
My
me neither.
all-time favorite virgin auction is A Million Dirty Secrets by C.L. Parker. She puts herself up for auction to help her parents save their house from foreclosure. It is totally written during the market crash,
Mhm.
Mm.
and it's sexy. It's very, very sexy.
So I do have one. So the Endgame trilogy by Skye Warren, The Pawn, which is book one, she is selling her virginity. And then Good Girl by Jana Aston is a virgin auction rom-com.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's so funny. And
Mm-hmm.
Heather and I did a quick shot of romance on that, and you can find that in our archives. Violent Beginnings, A Dark Enemies to Lover Mafia Romance by J.L. Beck and C. Hallman. It is also a virgin auction. Consent is, I'm going non-con on that one. It's yeah. I also like Owned by Georgia L. Carr. That one
Yeah.
was, ooh, make me sweaty.
Filthy Beautiful Lies by Kendall Ryan.
Yeah.
Another one on this list.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. So I have created a TBR of spicy books because as I was going through my list, I had books I hadn't read. So authors that are on my TBR are Calypso Masters, Charisse Sinclair, Angel Payne, Tiffany Reyes,
Oh, I
Knights of...
came across that Charisse Sinclair like multiple times.
Yeah, she had so many books on the list, so I'm going to have to start looking. Knights of the Boardroom by J.C. Burton, Jane Rylan, Laura Kay, M.S. Parker.
I read a couple Laura K's, but not sex club ones. So
Not
I was
sex
kind of
club.
mad when I came across those ones because, like, damn it, I've read her, but not those ones.
M.S. Parker, Pepper North, and C.J. Roberts. So a full list of books. Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like the moral of this whole entire episode, and correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, is if you're looking for something dirty to read, we're the people, more specifically Becky, because we've established she had a significant whore phase.
Yes,
So
I did.
we're the people. And if you think, I'm not sure if this is dirty,
Just ask.
just come
And
to
if
us.
we don't know, we'll find out.
We'll help you out.
We'll
You're
let
like,
you know.
I need a palate cleanser that's real spicy. We're your girls.
We are.
We are.
We are. And we're not ashamed of what we like.
No, we're not.
Nope.
So a full list of book recommendations on from this episode will be available in our On the Shelf show notes. If you would like more kinky book recs, make sure you check out our Patreon exclusives, Buzzing After Dark. In those episodes, we do talk specifically about kink and what kinks are in a book, and if there's consent. What else do we talk about in those, Leah?
We let it all out.
And then we give you all the dirty quotes from the book, like Primal Kink, which we didn't even talk about tonight.
We didn't, but Buzzing After Dark, we give you all the things that we wouldn't say on the podcast.
Yeah. Buzzing After Dark is exclusive to our Patreon. Okay. It's that time.
It's that time for book of the
week. Jazz hands and everything.
I know. I wish they could see my jazz hands.
Okay, Heather, what's your book of the week?
I'm reading an arc. Ready? I'm gonna make you jealous. Kenji by Cal O'Reilly. I know. I'm so excited. I can't even wait.
Can't wait. We have a quick shot coming up of Callum dropping next week, maybe this week. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's the next book in that series, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm real excited for this book.
Okay, well,
what's your book of the week?
So I read Made for Me by Natasha Madison. And it is emotional. I loved Julia and Chase. They are really great characters. This was so their story. I really liked the connection between these two. One of my complaints, this is it's a new series, but it's still part of Natasha's second gen grouping. And I complained in the last grouping of second gen that it was so much family antics that I lost sight of who the characters, whose story it was supposed to be. And this one came back to what I expect from her. That, strong connection between two characters. It's really deep in emotion. The family is there, but they were not the main pieces in this story. So Made for Me by Natasha Madison. I enjoyed it. And I will be doing a Should You Read It over on Patreon later this month. So anyway.
Okay, and then I continued in the vein of Vanessa Vale, and I read her Bachelor Auction series. It's 3 cowboy brothers who are put up for auction, and they are bought by different women. The storylines actually overlap with the way they are. They're short. I actually even think they're borderline novellas, but they're wonderful and delightful and dirty, very dirty.
I'm mad at myself that I haven't read those because, she's one of my favorites.
Yeah, they were really good. Like book 1, the hero gets kneed in the nuts by the heroine within the first 2 chapters of the book because she does not like what he has to say. And so she knees him, but then she buys him in an auction. And then the hero in the second book, his ex-girlfriend buys him and then proceeds to handcuff him to the bed and then leave him there after he gets her off.
Love this. I am in.
By now. Just happened.
They're delightful. Book 3, the librarian of the town, who's 70, buys the hero for her great niece because she needs a fake date to her sister's wedding.
I love that.
Me too. And I love an old person in the my God, I love that.
The library. She's the librarian because the hero Thackeray loves to read, and so she always saves him the really good books.
Love that. Okay, so Patreon update, guys. We are sitting at 39 Patreon community members. Still? We need one more person to trigger our giveaway.
Just one.
Just one. And because we have talked about her so much and featured her so much, it is going to be a special Sawyer Bennett giveaway because she has some books that she is happy to gift to one of our Patreons because you guys have been so supportive of her. So if you trigger us over to 40, you will trigger the 40-person giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
for some pretty amazing stuff.
Very cool.
But I do want to say a quick thank you to all who support us over on Patreon. Because of you, we are able to bring you 3 episodes a week. And we have perks over there like Coffee of the Month, exclusive episodes, and Drunk Book Club. We sent out swag packs. January's swag pack went out in the mail and is hitting people's mailboxes over the
I got
course
mine.
the couple
They were
weeks.
delightful.
Yeah, we have special exclusive stickers, and then some amazing authors have gifted stickers to our Patreon members. So in January, author Emily Silver gave everybody in our Patreon 3 exclusive Emily Silver stickers.
Emily's
So
the
sweet.
best.
She's the best. So yeah, and we do cool things. Plus you get Buzzing After Dark episodes and Should You Read It?
And Drunk Book Club.
And Drunk Book Club.
I'm gonna say Drunk Book Club is so fun. So fun. So it's totally worth it. I highly recommend.
Thank you.
It's like the highlight of my
It's the best night
month.
of the month. It is the best night of the month. It's girls' night once a month, but we're talking about romance books. We get to meet some incredible authors. We make connections. I have to laugh because we inevitably talk about people's pen collections and highlighter collections.
I don't know why we talk about those so much, but it's like every other month we have like a good 10-minute long conversation about it.
And also our Discord. We do have some channels that are locked for our Patreon members, but we also have open channels. And recently there was a huge discussion about crocheting and book trope blankets that people are now creating based on either how many pages they read or what trope they're currently reading. They're going to crochet. And I'm just like, you people are crazy, but I love you all.
You can join my secret society suspense.
I can't even keep up with that channel.
Society. You don't need to.
People are claiming husbands and getting new last names. I don't even know what's going on over there anymore.
It's a delightful place to be.
Oh, yes. Well, Riley Edwards joined our Discord.
Well, and so Amanda was in a book hangover from her Susan Stoker read. And so she decided to reread Riley. So she reread Zane, which is Recovering Ivy in the red team. But then so we're doing a group reread of the blue team, her, Merritt, and I, and anybody who wants to join us. And so we were fighting about our book boyfriends, and somebody else in our Discord server asked where she should start if she was reading a Riley Edwards romance. And we directed her and then kindly told her that she can't have Jasper as a book boyfriend because he is Amanda's book husband and it has been confirmed by Riley. And it kind of snowballed from there.
And then Riley Edwards comes on and said, "You mean Amanda Walker?"
Amanda Walker.
Jasper's wife. And Amanda's like dying inside, like
she is.
Fangirl.
Oh my gosh. When you send her spin pack, you better address it to Amanda Walker. She will probably pee her pants.
She probably
would. Okay, so back to book club. I talk about these people like I have seen them and like they're my friends. So I will talk about my book club friends and people are like, how are you in a book club with people that live in Boston or Ohio?
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're like my actual friends. And so it was so fun. I got to see Rachel in person and I'm not joking. We like sat right next to each other like, oh my God, you're like real.
Well, it's funny because Becky, like last week or the week before, Becky was talking about something as though like I've met her in person.
Yeah, like we've met in person. Right. We've been doing this 2 years and we've never met in person.
Like she made a comment about, she was making pepperoni bread. And we're just talking on the podcast. You guys have to listen to us. She was talking about pepperoni bread and like comment about me having her pepperoni bread. And I'm like, Becky, we've never been in the same state, like in the same room.
We haven't.
Ever. And
but
she's
you know
like,
what?
Oh yeah.
But book club is good too because man, we have lived through some really exciting moments. We've been friends and shoulders to cry on for some others. You know, we've lived through some breakups but new babies and some loss. And I mean, our community is amazing. Our community is special. And
it really is.
I don't know I talk to at least one community member outside of Leah every day. And I love those phone calls. And I got to FaceTime with our newest baby. We've on the phone the other day and got to hear little baby hiccups. So sweet. And we've lived through grandchildren, people becoming grandmas for the first time. And it's amazing. It's amazing. Okay. So if you would like to see what kind of chaos
That's true, because we are a lot. We are a lot, and we fully admit that. But Galentine's Day is coming.
Galentine's Day is coming. We're going to celebrate our gal pals.
Galentine's Day celebration. We are happening on February 11th. You can RSVP now on our website. So this is open for any romance book loving people. It is not a Patreon exclusive event. So you can come and hang out with us. We have a fun craft we're doing. We're going to create a signature cocktail. We're going to do a watercolor TBR bookshelf that Becky has made and figured out. She found it on TikTok. And plus we're doing book boyfriend giveaways. And if you want details, go to bookcaseandcoffee.com/Valentine's Day 2023 / it's going to be a lot of fun. We got super drunk last year and we decided we couldn't do that this year. Hence the one cocktail and then the craft.
Yeah. We were all
really drunk.
So 2023, we are kicking off with our new to you author challenge. It is happening right now. You must read at least 2 new authors each month to be entered into our monthly prize. And each additional new to you author you read will be counted as an additional entry. You must submit each new author to you, each new to you author you read to our form on our website for it to count. Any new to you author that you read and submit to our website between January 1st of 2023 to March 31st of 2023 counts for an entry. So check out bookcaseandcoffee.com to enter your new to you authors that you've read. You will find a list of all of our upcoming dates, including book club, happy hours, plot a book, and reading challenge at bookcaseandcoffee.com. Plot a book. It's so fun. It's so unique. We, as a community, are crowdsourcing a novella with friend of the podcast, Sawyer Bennett. And
it's a little bit chaotic.
It's a lot chaotic. What are we doing this time? I can't remember what we're
I don't know. Sawyer posted about it yesterday, I think.
It's so fun, but I can tell you that Dominic from the Arizona Vengeance plays a key part into this story, and so does the best book boyfriend in the entire world. Wild.
Dax.
Wild.
Dax.
Wild.
We're not having this conversation.
He's the man. Anyway, Heather, thank you for coming on and providing some spicy book recs.
Anytime.
Leah, thanks for joining me again, like you had a choice.
Of course. It's always a good time.
Until next time, everyone.
Happy reading, everybody.
Find us on Instagram at buzzingaboutromance or on Twitter at buzzingromance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.